everybody, doing something a little different on the channel today. As you know, the channel is mostly pretty much all cars and trucks. I'm going to do a little video on my bike today, bringing it in to do some maintenance on it. It's winter right now when I'm filming this video, so it's a great time to have the bike inside. Take it apart, no big rush to get it back together as long as it's done by springtime. This is my 2008 Harley Street Glide. I bought it used a couple years ago. Did kind of a quick once over on it when I got it. Haven't had any issues out of it at all, but it's got about 47,000 miles on it now, so it's time to take a look at the cam tensioners here behind the cam cover. I want to take the primary cover off, take a look at the chain and the adjuster, the clutch, all that kind of stuff while I'm in there. We're also going to do the basic check over, you know, the lights and the brake pads and all that kind of stuff. That way we know what we've got, we know what we need to fix. Again, we got plenty of time to order parts, wait for stuff to come in and get it fixed before it's springtime and we want it back together so we can ride. Thought it might be a neat video to bring some folks along on. So to get the cam cover off, we got to take the floorboard off. The covers around the exhaust, probably going to have to take the exhaust at least down here in the front. There's bolts around the bottom of the cam cover here that the pipe covers up at the moment. Primary cover on the other side of the bike, pretty easy to get off. We'll take the camera around there when we get ready to do that. But yeah, that's the idea. So hope you enjoy the video. All right, so got started. I got the chrome cover off the front of the exhaust pipe. I don't know if I'm gonna have to take the pipe the rest of the way off or not. I think I might have enough room that I can sneak this cover out of here without unhooking the exhaust from the head, which I'd really rather do if at all possible. I can get to all the bolts around the cover except this one. I might have to go at a little bit of an angle to get that one. But all the rest of these I can get a straight shot on. So hopefully if the cover will come, you know, out and up and off kind of a thing, we might be in good shape there. When I got the bike, it had these aftermarket floorboards on it. And I don't really care for them because, and to show you why I don't like them, over here on the left-hand side of the bike, here's your kickstand. My finger's on the end of the kickstand, and you just can't get to it with this floorboard in the way. You can't get your toe in here to kick the kickstand out. So every time you stop, I have to balance the bike, reach down here with my hand, and pull the kickstand out so I can get off the bike. What I just noticed, or what I think might work, I don't know if this is how they're supposed to be, and whoever put them on here put them on backwards, but if I line this board up with the bottom board, the mounts, if I line the mounts up, it sticks up here a lot farther, but now I can get to the kickstand with my foot, but it would be really nice to be able to get to the kickstand without standing on your head and using your hand to put the kickstand down. So I'll show you here around the cam cover. Not a whole lot of room right here around this pipe, but there's quite a bit of room underneath and so forth. So I think I may be able to get these bolts out, pull it out just enough and kind of up and out of there. We'll see. So I guess next I'm going to start zipping these bolts out around the cam cover, see if we can get that off without moving the exhaust. I've got about 4 more here to pull out, and we'll see if we can sneak this cover out around the pipes. The bolts all have quite a bit of sealant on them. I don't know what I think about that yet. That looks like quite a bit for the factory to put on there, which makes me think this may have been off in the past. You know, who knows why? Maybe somebody doing an inspection like I am. Maybe somebody's already replaced the pads. Maybe somebody put cams or something in it. I don't know. We'll see when we get it apart here. That's kind of the neat thing about having a used one and pulling it apart. You never know what's in there. It might be all factory stuff. It may be upgraded stuff. Who knows? I had an 05 Road King before this that had the 88 in it with the other style tensioners. I pulled it apart to do the tensioners. I bought it used as well. I think it had about 30,000 miles on it when I got it. I decided to pull the cover off of it and see what the tensioners look like and go from there. The tensioners were shot, but it did have upgraded cams in it. They weren't factory cams, so somebody had been in there before and put new cams in it. So that was kind of neat. All right, so I got all the bolts out of this, I think. Wow, look at that. Didn't have to remove the exhaust pipe after all. That's great news. I'm sure you put a drain pan under here. You're going to drain some oil out, probably less than a quart overall, but it'll definitely make a mess if you don't put a pan under there. Everything looks great inside the casing so far. I'll get you guys in here in a second to kind of see the tensioner pads I'm talking about and see what else we can see while we're in here. All right, so here's what we're looking at. This is the tensioner pad that I was talking about. This is kind of a plasticky kind of a material. Oil pressure pushes this little piston out, pressing this into the chain and tightening the chain, taking the slack out of it. The 88 cubic inch with the different style tensioner, it's in the same location, but instead of this oil pressure deal, it's got a spring wrapped around it that shoves this thing against the chain. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because of that spring or a different material in this, but the spring type wear out a whole lot faster than these do. This bike's got 47,000 miles, and you can see this tensioner still looks pretty good from what we can see here. I'm gonna open it up so we can see where it's touching the chain and kind of see what we're looking at. Probably gonna go ahead and replace it while we're in here anyway. Loosened it, or took this top bolt out, and you can rotate it away from the chain so you can get the tensioner shoe out. Be careful when you take this out, because this little plunger will come out at the bottom and there's a spring down in there. I don't know if you can see the little spring there on the camera or not. It's kind of blurry, it looks like, but anywho, there's a spring down in there, so just be careful you don't lose that. If you look at this tensioner shoe, this area here, these two grooves, is where the chain rides. And this one is worn a little bit. When they're new, they're flat all the way across. So these grooves, there's no grooves at all in it when it's brand new. So you can see it's worn down slightly, but we're gonna go ahead and replace them, of course, because we're in here already. I already have them out. I'm also gonna do some mods while I'm in here. I got thinking about it yesterday, and this is the cam support plate. I'm gonna replace this cam support plate with a Screamin Eagle version, which is kind of like the factory high performance parts are called Screamin Eagle parts. And it also comes, or at least the kit that I'm buying, comes with an upgraded oil pump that flows a lot more. It's a high volume pump, not necessarily any different oil pressure on the gauge, but volume wise it flows a lot more oil throughout the engine, which will keep everything lubed up a little bit better and keep the engine a little bit cooler. The more oil you can circulate through the engine, in theory, the cooler the engine's going to run, which on these air-cooled and oil-cooled engines, that's really important, obviously. Also, another thing is camshafts themselves. I have a set of Screamin Eagle camshafts, which are basically one step above what a stock cam would be. I already have a set of those, the Road King that I talked about earlier. When I had that bike, I decided to go in and do the tensioners. But before I tore anything apart, I went ahead and looked up parts, ordered parts. I ordered the tensioners, assuming I was going to need those. I ordered an upgraded oil pump for it. I ordered a set of S&S cams, which is a aftermarket company that makes performance parts. I ordered a set of S&S cams to put in the Road King, and then began tearing the bike apart. Well, once I got the bike apart and looked at what cams were in it, somebody had already been into that and put the Screamin Eagle 203 cams in it. The S&S cams that I picked were, I believe, S&S 509s, which is almost the same thing as a 203. Not really a ton of difference between them. But I already bought the S&S cams. You know, they're a little, just slightly bigger than the 203 cams. So as long as I'm in there, I might as well put the S&S cams that I already bought in. So that's how I ended up with the 203 cams sitting on the shelf here in the garage. I'm assuming all this stuff is stock. If they are, we're going to go ahead and put the 203s in it and just go from there. All right, we've made some progress. We've got the lifters out. We've got the timing chain off. What we're looking at now is the cam support plate, this aluminum colored thing right here. Your oil pump bolts on with these 4 bolts. It's on the other side of the cam plate. When we pull the cam plate out, we'll see the oil pump attached to the back of it. To get the cam plate off, we go around the outside and remove these Allen screws. There's no need to remove these 4 bolts to get the cam plate off. Those hold the oil pump to the cam plate. Since we're replacing the oil pump, we never even have to get that off of there. All right, got all the cam support bolts out. I pulled it out of here. I know I said a minute ago that it's not necessary to remove these bolts that go through the oil pump. On this particular deal that we're doing here, I will have to take these bolts out and leave the oil pump in the engine, pull the cam plate out, then pull the oil pump out, because we've left this exhaust on here. There's just not enough space between here to get the cam plate all the way out of the motor around the exhaust. Okay, so we're making some progress. We got the cam plate out, we've got the oil pump out. Everything inside the case here looks great. Over here we've got the cam plate and the oil pump. So this is what the inside of the cam plate looks like. 2 camshafts. This is our tensioner for the inner chain. Again, we can take that apart just like we did the outside one. Take one or both of these bolts out, swing this around and get the pad out of there. These are bone stock factory cams that came in it. This is the oil pump. It bolts on the back, something like that. Okay, so here we are. I've got the factory cam plate taken apart, the cams out of it. Just wanted to show some differences here between the bone stock factory stuff and this is a Screamin Eagle cam plate. So you can kind of compare them side to side and see how much different they are. This is cast. You can see all these oil galleries where the oil flows to different places. You can see casting numbers and casting marks in it. This one is forged. So this is one solid piece that then they drill holes in, the oil passages through. You can see on this one, the oil passages are plugged off with what looks like steel balls. So to get into these oil passages, say you want to get in there and clean them out or whatever, you got to get those balls out of there and then put something back in there to seal it up. Whereas this one here has pipe plugs in all of it. So all you have to do to clean this one out, take the pipe plugs out, do your cleaning, put the pipe plugs back in, you're good to go. These bearings here, the cam rides in the aluminum cam plate here. These have bronze bushings in them. But for the camshaft, it just rides in the aluminum. There's nothing inside that hole there but aluminum. Again, here you have the bronze, so this will last a lot longer, be a lot better setup than the factory one. The oil pumps, this is the factory oil pump on the left, the upgraded version on the right. You can see this area in here. This is where the oil gets trapped in between these gears. And as these gears rotate, it pushes that oil through the oil pump and then through the engine. You can see how much bigger these are than those. And what that does is that lets a lot more oil volume in here. So for every rotation of this gear, you're moving a lot more oil throughout the engine. Keeps everything better lubricated, keeps everything a little bit cooler. I made a mistake earlier in the video. I'm sure some of you Harley guys have already caught the mistake that I made. Earlier I said that I bought these S&S cams for my 2005 Road King with the 88 cubic inch engine. Put them in there, which left me with these Screamin Eagle 203 cams that were already in the Road King that I did not know about until I'd already bought these and pulled the engine apart, is when I found out it already had these cams in it. I said earlier I was going to use these cams on this 08, you know, to have a bigger aftermarket camshaft in it than the factory cams. Well, as you can see here on the box, these cams only work in 99 to 06 models. The reason for that, or the difference in them, is the size of the bearing surface here on the end of the cam. So this is the Screamin Eagle cam for the 05 model, 99 to 06 actually. And you can see the end of this camshaft, how big the bearing surface is, right? If you look at this cam, which is out of the 08, you can see right in here how much bigger the bearing surface is than this one. So in other words, if I put this cam in this hole, let me get you in frame here. If I put this cam in this hole, obviously it's going to fit nice and snug inside that bushing. If I try to put this smaller cam in there, just for demonstration purposes, you can see how much smaller it is. Okay, obviously there's no way that's going to work. Pretty sure what I'm going to do, 99% sure, I'm going to sleep on it, but I'm 99% sure I'm going to put these factory cams back in the engine. The reason is the bike ran great with those cams in it. I got roughly 42, 45 miles to the gallon, somewhere in that neighborhood. Ran great, seemed to have plenty of power for what I do with the bike. So there's really no sense, no reason that I would have to go to bigger cams. Nothing I don't like about these factory cams that were in it. I think I'm just going to stick with them. The only reason that I'd considered putting the upgraded cam in it is because I already owned them. All right, as you can probably tell, part of the video come up missing again when I went to edit everything. Part of the video was gone of where I was putting the cam support plate together, putting the camshafts back in it, putting the oil pump in the case there, and putting all that stuff together. It's just gone. Really don't want to take it back apart just to film all that again, so you're just gonna have to trust me. I put it together and put it in there. The point we're at now, obviously all the cam chest is buttoned up. We've got all that stuff in, torqued down, put together like it's supposed to be. We've got the lifters back in it. I'm getting ready to put the adjustable push rods and push rod tubes in it. This is the kit that I got for that. It's a Screamin Eagle adjustable kit. I changed to the black tubes. You use part of your old tubes, and it'll have all black tubes with just the chrome piece in between. So what's different about these, or why you need the different tubes when you go to adjustable push rods, I believe, is so that you can get the push rod into the tube and then swung in over top of the lifter. So if we look at the old clips, they are shorter than the new ones by quite a bit. And the tubes, I'll grab one here for you. And the tubes are a lot shorter than the originals. And like I said, I think that gives you more room. You've got basically this much more room with these new tubes to slide the push rod in through it and then start adjusting. This looks like a pretty nice kit. It comes with all the O-rings and stuff we need to make sure everything's sealed up so we don't have any oil leaks. This here's the part number and everything for the kit that I'm using for my bike. Okay, so more technical difficulties. We've got everything put back together, as you can see. Put the new push rod tubes in there, the adjustable push rods. Got all that adjusted the way it's supposed to be. Got our exhaust cover back on. Everything put back together. We've had the bike running. Everything's done, everything's great. We did swap the floorboards over from side to side like I was talking about earlier in the video. I'm sure that that's the way that they're supposed to be put on there. You can see in this gap back here now, we have plenty of room to get your toe in there to kick the kickstand out. I'm sure that's how them floorboards were supposed to be put on there originally. Whoever put them on there, I guess, didn't realize, you know, what happens, but anywho, so bike's back together, running great. No issues out of anything that we did. Oil pressure on the gauge is still pretty close to the same as what it was before we did the upgrades. It may be just Well, actually, at a hot idle, it is a little bit, the pressure is a little bit higher than it was, maybe 3, 4, 5 pounds around that area. It's higher now. But, yeah, so let's fire it up. So like I said, everything turned out great with the rest of the build. Wish the video would have come out better. I know we'd had several problems in this video of you know, parts coming up missing, parts of the video coming up missing, and it not being a very good production. And I apologize for that, but I'm working on it and we're getting better. What was I getting ready to say? So the oil pressure, obviously this was cold when we just started it. So the oil pressure that you saw there was on the cold engine, but even after it warms up and you're, you know, at a hot idle at a traffic light or whatever, it's still sitting kind of that first black mark there up from 0. The first kind of wider black mark, I guess it's the 3rd mark. That's usually where it sits when it's at a hot idle, which is a little bit higher than it used to with the factory parts in it. So that's going to wrap up the Camshaft video. As I said a minute ago, I wish it would have turned out better. I wish we'd have got all the video in there where you could see it, but that's what we got. So click the like button, leave me some comments, some discussion, what you think, you know, what you'd have done differently, things like that. Subscribe for me, and we're going to keep cranking out videos, so let me know what you'd like to see. We've got the 66 Rambler over there. Pretty nice car. I'll do a video on it one of these days. Kind of an overview, and then we got some work to do on it, but thanks for watching.